Yeah, it's a weird thing. I just had a train of thought and I forgot it, but it was good, so I want to find it again.
Mm.
Uh,
You want me to hum something while you think?
no, I feel like it's gonna just... I said no. Hey, we in. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
How
I
we
got
doing?
a new haircut. I'm feeling good. Let's do this episode, dude.
You got a haircut?
Yeah, I got a hair.
Did you just
You
cut the
didn't
sides
notice?
of your hair?
You didn't?
Because the top of your hair is wild.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. It's kind of crazy, right? This is like this is tame. This is
Yeah,
tame
it's been getting crazy lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I went from like James Dean to like
You wish.
Johnny Bravo, and now I'm like Beaker from the Muppets.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. You have military regulations, but you wear a hat at work, so you don't have to really worry about the top,
this
right?
Is, yeah, this is hella unsat, dog.
This is what?
This is hella unsat.
Can you explain what unsat means?
Oh, unsatisfactory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's why you kept it like that, isn't it? Because you're
what?
like I'm rebelling under my hat.
Oh yeah, I only got like
Okay.
2 months left.
There you
so
go. There
Someone's
you go.
gonna see this and be like, "Hey, cut
It's not
your
like you're
hair."
gonna get masted for having long hair.
I don't know. I think if like maybe someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, cut your hair," and then I was like, "No, I'm not cutting my hair,"
You were like, "Fuck you!"
then I
and you
might get
punched him?
masted.
That could be bad.
I might get written up,
Ooh.
but I've been written up before.
Oh, gangster. Uh-oh.
No, that was no. I was trying to do like Lieutenant Aldo Rain, thing there. You know, like Inglourious Bastards.
I've seen Inglourious Basterds, that one.
At the end, fucking Brad Pitt, he like kills somebody, and they're like, "Aren't you gonna get in trouble for that? Like, aren't they gonna kill you or something?" And he's like, "Nah, I'll just get chewed out." But I've been chewed out before.
I like that. So I know you have something you're really excited to get into in the wrestling world, but
Okay,
we have a cool announcement before we dive into everything.
let's do it.
We are officially participating in NaNoWriMo, which for those of you guys who don't know what that is, NaNoWriMo is shorthand for National Novel Writing Month, which is a cool thing that happens every November, where there's sort of a communal effort to push writers to basically churn out words, to basically get your ideas on paper. It's not necessarily about, the quality of what you're putting out, but reaching the goal. And the goal is to write 50,000 words in 1 month. So over the month of November, to get to 50,000 words.
So every day you have to write 1,666
67 words.
Okay, 67
It's
words.
66.6 repeats.
66666.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it's when you break it down like that, it seems doable. You're like, I feel like I can
That's
do
a
that.
lot.
I feel
That
like
is a lot.
But if you were to say you have to go write just under 1,700 words right now, I'd be like, I could do that. But doing it every day.
Every single day. The consistency is what's
the
what's
consistency
key.
is the hard part. But we kind of want to throw it out there for anyone listening. If anybody wants to join in, we kind of feel like any collective push is going to help anyone who's participating. And they have a website. The NaNoWriMo has their own website. It's also a nonprofit organization. And you can go on their website and create a profile. And there's all these like badges and stuff, stickers, things, goals you can set for yourself, and kind of little rewards you can give yourself to keep yourself on pace, and community events that you can go to. If you're in big cities like we are, you can go to, they call them write-ins. So people will host write-ins like they do them at like libraries and coffee shops, and you can go to these write-ins and you can meet people from the community. You can meet fellow writers and creatives, and you can, be inspired by people
Or fall in
pushing a
love.
similar.
And,
Maybe you fall in love.
Make
That'd be-
little tiny baby writers.
And then next year for
and get their
NaNoWriMo,
own little typewriters for the babies.
next year on NaNoWriMo, you write a romantic novel about how you fell in love doing NaNoWriMo.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Like it.
But yeah, that was our cool announcement. If you want to participate in that, obviously we think that would be super cool.
I think it would be cool to just do like a little writer's corner segment, like on each of our like main episodes.
Yeah, I think all through November
and sort of
we talked about
include that.
Not only holding each other accountable for keeping up, but sort of sharing how it's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
like what the process of writing is like.
Exactly. And we'll talk about that, I think, probably every week through November, we'll probably do a little bit.
I'm interested in how you're probably going to approach it, because I have a specific idea, and I'm literally going to talk about that idea. I don't care about like sharing my story like bit by bit, because I've never actually seen anybody do that, because everybody's always so precious. Everybody's always so precious about their own their own writing.
I feel like you'll see people that will share, the elevator pitch for their story idea or something like that, but they won't share.
Okay, I'm going through this like problem with this character, and I want to do that because I've just never seen it before.
I'd be down to do that.
And I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, then like I'm still going to do that, and it's no problem. But yeah, so you don't have an idea set already?
No, I do. I came up with one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I mean, I just
is it a completely new idea?
I went through my idea folder and picked one.
Okay. Can you do an elevator pitch for it yet? Or
mystery crime thriller set in a fantasy world, following a town guard. So instead of a cop, he's like a town guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's yours?
Yeah. So mine is it's called Tritonopia. That's the title of it. Do you know what Tritonopia is?
Nope. I know who Triton is.
Yeah. So Tritonopia.
The Greek god Triton.
Right. So Tritonopia
and Opia
is actually
implies a city.
So I chose it specifically because it kind of sounds like that,
okay.
But Tritonopia is a color blindness. It's a form of color blindness.
Cool.
But basically the story is set in early 1940s America, but it follows this biographer who has Tritonopia, and he decides to go on this deep sea adventure with this kind of maniacal Spanish explorer named Azriel Covas. And
his name is Azriel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, but I'm really excited for it. It's like I want it to be. You
said you had like this idea for a while, but you've never tried writing a novel before, right?
Right.
Yeah, so first time for you.
Well, I've actually tried writing this novel, and like the thing is, like I feel like I'm a pretty good storyteller, but I'm a crap writer. I don't feel comfortable with the format of writing a novel, so I'm just gonna try and figure it out and try to like put words to paper.
Yeah, that's what the whole point of NaNoWriMo is, putting words on paper.
Yeah. But yeah, I want it to be like sort of like Lovecraftian, but like more lighthearted.
By the way,
have
this is not an elevator pitch.
Huh? No, it's not an elevator pitch, but I'm just sharing.
You asked me for my elevator pitch.
Well, because you literally just came up with the idea.
No, I've had this idea. I had this idea a long time ago.
I didn't know if you had that bare minimum of.
No. I have basically characters worked out a little bit and general idea. I don't. The problem is it's a mystery, and I don't necessarily know what the mystery is going to be yet.
What is going to be revealed?
Yeah. Like I know he's gonna be solving a murder, but I don't even know who the murderer is. Loose title is The Warden.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Loose.
I feel like people might get bored as fuck with it, but who cares?
Oh, gee, thanks.
No, I'm not saying yours specifically. I'm talking about just like us talking about our own writing.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. We just wanted to announce that and invite.
I came up so mean. Obviously, mine's going to be awesome, and yours isn't.
It's gonna suck. Obviously,
I should have said that earlier after I talked about my own thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean. I meant that.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll do a long time. We'll just probably touch on it every week, check each other's progress, and if anyone out there joins in, they can share their progress with us, and we will be sharing our progress with them. So we think that'd be cool. But you're really excited to talk about some wrestling stuff.
Yes. Okay. So Worlds is actually like going down right now over the course. I think it started on the 20th and it's gonna wrap on the 28th. But
so
it's in Budapest.
Worlds is obviously the whole world competes, but does it have anything to do with like making the Olympics or anything like that?
So it's basically like, yeah. I mean, it's a world tournament, but I'm not sure how it coincides with the Olympics, but I'm pretty sure that it's just its own tournament like the Olympics every single year.
Okay.
So
winning this makes you basically the best in the world at what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For that year.
For that year. Yeah.
So I wanted to start off with this. Like I'm going to go very specific.
Okay.
About this incident that occurred at Worlds, and it's more about journalism than it is about wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So do you know who Helen Mariolis is? No?
Nope.
Well, you should. I feel like everybody in America should, because she's the first American to win an Olympic gold medal in women's freestyle wrestling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wanted to.
That's crazy.
I had to read my notes there. So
Say the name again?
So Helen Mariolis.
Helen Mariolis.
She's a badass bitch, right?
Okay.
So she is a 2-time world champion, 4-time medalist in the world championships. She won a gold medal at the Pan Am Games. But there was a period for 3 years where she wasn't giving up a point at Worlds.
Wow.
She's
dominant.
She's a killer.
Yeah.
And before Worlds this year, she had won her previous 10 matches by a combined 97 to 0. Wow. 97 to 0.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? But
I mean, for context, for people who don't know wrestling, one takedown gets you 2 points.
right.
So she's averaging like 9.7 points a match.
Right.
That's crazy.
But she suffered a concussion in a tournament in India before this year's Worlds.
Okay.
Right.
Do you know how long before the tournament?
I'm not sure exactly, but it was sometime this year.
Okay.
That she suffered the concussion, and this year at Worlds during her first match, she got pinned in the first round.
Wow.
And shortly after her match, somebody from Flow Wrestling, which is it's like the ESPN of wrestling specifically.
It's FLO, right?
Yeah,
wrestling?
Flow Wrestling, yeah. But they do a lot of coverage of wrestling and do interviews and film matches and shit and help you keep track of wrestling.
Yeah.
But someone from Flow Wrestling approached Helen Mariolis literally right after the match. She still has like sweat on her skin, and they asked her about the extent of the brain injury and if she was considering maybe retiring
from one concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she starts breaking down crying, and you can see her sort of starting to compose herself.
Yeah.
And the person that asked the question is sort of like, oh, like, I'm sorry, like, you know, we love you. Like, he feels really bad for asking this question, but she composes herself.
Was
really
it the
quick.
first thing that he asked?
No, it was over the course of a sort of
an interview,
maybe 20 minutes long interview.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
and it kind of happened in the middle because there was multiple people asking her multiple questions, right?
It's like a scrum.
Yeah.
Like a media scrum.
But she composed herself, and then she went on to say, I feel really responsible to do the right thing for my health, not just for myself, but to set an example, because I get a lot of messages from kids on Instagram like, oh, I have a concussion, or my teammate has a concussion. And then she goes on to say, you know, there's this wrestler mindset to just push through, and if you're the toughest one, you'll find a way to win.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to it. I want a long life.
Okay. That's
now, Flow Wrestling posted that little snippet from this longer interview. They posted that on Instagram, and one of the first people to comment on it, or one of the highest comments on it, was this guy named Yanni Diakomalis. He's another Greek American. Helen Mariolis is also Greek American.
Okay. He's also Greek American?
Yes.
Okay.
But Yanni is NCAA champion. Is currently wrestling at Cornell. Is going to be a sophomore.
Young.
But he commented on Instagram. He said, "Might have crossed a line here."
So that dude's my brother's age.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He said, "Might have crossed a line here." That's all he said. And there was a lot of people sort of talking over Instagram, and a lot of times on Instagram you get a lot of idiots and toxicity and just dumbness. Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot of interesting conversation to be had about a question like that. Okay. Something that's sort of controversial. How long should that reporter should have waited to address something like that? Should he have... Is it unethical for him to ask a question like that immediately after her match?
So, okay. I think there's a lot of context to it.
Mhm.
It's a lot of context. The way you've described it, he didn't do it immediately. If she came off the mat and he said, "How's your brain injury?" That's weird. If
Right.
you're not going to, because she clearly felt like she could wrestle.
Right.
And you don't know necessarily how long the tournament before was, but normally there's probably at least a couple weeks between tournaments.
Yes.
Maybe a month between
I
tournaments.
think it was a few months ago.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it was a few months probably.
Mm-hmm.
See, I mean, you see dudes in the NFL come back from concussions in 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And concussions are a weird injury where it depends on the severity of them in terms of your recovery time.
Right.
And the more you have, obviously, the worse for your long-term health. I mean, like I had 2 concussions, I think, in high school. Yeah. But I feel fine. You know, I don't think my brain is addled.
Right.
So I feel like in a scrum setting, I obviously haven't watched this video, and you were talking about just a clip, so I don't know if you've watched the long video or not.
I haven't watched the entire thing.
So we don't know if he was the first person to bring up the brain injury, if he was following up on another question or something that she had answered previously. There's a lot of context to something like this, but I do think that he is completely in his rights to bring it up.
Okay.
I don't like there's this vilifying, I don't want to say culture because it's not cultural, but there's this vilifying idea of reporters asking athletes things, but it's your job is
Right.
to learn.
Yeah.
as much as
At
you can
what
about any athlete.
at what point does it become gotcha journalism? You know, like
So I think
I didn't have any problem really with this, and that, but like I kind of go back and forth on it.
so. The Yanni comment, was he referencing
He was
the reporter
referencing-
crossing a line or her crossing a line?
the reporter crossing the line.
Okay.
That he should have
Okay.
waited. That he shouldn't. He was like, he goes on in other Instagram comments, like people being like, Yanni, what are you talking about? And he's like, that should have been handled off air.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Right.
I think it's a reporter's job to ask questions and to ask hard questions.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, it seems like this reporter wasn't coming from a spiteful place. He immediately realized the emotion that he dredged up from her.
Yeah.
And sort of apologized for it, and he was nice about it. At the same time, I think he got something important out of her, and that's his job.
Exactly.
That's what he's supposed to do.
And it's something that, like, when I saw Helen Mariolis immediately dealing with that kind of question, you see her conflict, her internal
Yeah,
struggle,
absolutely.
to be like, well, I have this brain injury, but I still want to do the sport that I love, which is we should be seeing that struggle because it's so
It's human.
It's human.
It's storytelling.
It's topical, and it's important for other people to see that.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
because how many
It's
young
also-
athletes are struggling with
Exactly.
brain injuries,
And how many young wrestlers and football players and other contact sports are still in that mindset of, I have to fight through this, when we are learning through the science how drastic brain injuries can be and what they can do to you long term. It's a different animal when you're a professional athlete to when you are, an amateur athlete.
but like you're also dealing with whether you're a man or a woman, especially someone like Helen Mariolis, who is sort of a woman in a man's world
Yeah,
as far as
for
being a
sure.
wrestler. You're constantly facing like, am I being tough enough?
Yeah, and
that's something that you get with wrestling, period.
And then being a woman on top of it.
Right.
And someone as dominant as she is in the wrestling world I can only assume is a huge inspiration to a lot of, young female wrestlers out there. And, women that you see that want to be they see women in the UFC that are becoming these big stars, and women in mixed martial arts and other forms of martial arts is becoming more and more slowly accepted as something that women can do and can be great at. And that you aren't just going to be, there aren't going to be these negative assumptions about you because that's what you do. They're not, it still happens obviously. And it probably always will, because there's just negative people, but the more people like her, the better. So I think seeing someone like her struggle with a real issue makes her even more important.
Right.
I've never heard about her until 2 minutes ago, but I feel like she's important already. You know what I mean?
Right. That was something that I just I wanted to touch on. But yeah, we can move on. I wanted to cover just a little bit about like what other things that happened at Worlds. Okay. As of right now, we actually have 3 gold medalists at Worlds. U.S.
Nice.
gold medalists in freestyle wrestling.
That's crazy.
Kyle Dake.
I heard of him. Is he the undefeated guy?
Yeah, so he is one of only 3 or 4 people in college in Division 1 men's wrestling to win a national championship all 4 years of their career.
Oh, wow.
And what's different about Kyle Dake was he was the only person to do it at 4 different weight classes.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He also has an amazing first name.
Yeah, and he went through...
That took you a long time.
Fuck you, dude. But he also went. Nobody scored a point on him at Worlds this year. He's a fucking monster.
The idea that you are at a tournament of the best in the field
entire
that you participate in the
world.
whole world, and you dominate everyone is so crazy. Wow, that's super impressive.
It's insane. Another gold medalist, David Taylor, who also was a 4-time All-American, 2-time NCAA champion for Penn State. Another one, Jaden Cox, also won gold. We have 3 bronze medalists right now. Joe Colon, Jordan Burroughs, who you might know.
Jordan Burroughs got bronze.
Yeah,
I know
he
Jordan
got bronze.
Burroughs. Yeah, he's someone who's hyped up. You hear people talk about wanting him to join like the UFC a lot. Jordan Burroughs.
Yeah, because I mean he's a monster. He was a gold medalist in the.
He's like 32
Olympics.
though, isn't he? He's like
he's a little bit older. Yeah, he's a little bit older.
Which in these types of sports, you know, Olympic sports, once you hit like 30, you're.
But how old was Cormier when he started doing MMA?
I don't know.
Another one is that got bronze was Nick Gwizdowski.
Ooh.
Nick Gwizdowski. He got bronze, and there was another 5th placer, Thomas Gilman, who wrestles for
a lot of medals.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
America's kicking ass.
Is Russia participating? Just wondering.
Yes,
they are.
Yes, they are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Have they been tested?
Have they been tested? I think we have more medals than they do.
Oh, I don't mean tested physically.
Oh, I thought you meant like challenged.
I mean Mexican supplements.
Fuck. I'm not sure. I don't think that we're actually going to win the team title.
Okay.
For Worlds.
Even with that many medals, jeez.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I only say
it might be Russia.
I only bring up the Russian thing because at the last Olympics,
it might have been Russia who's actually in
they
first.
literally couldn't participate in almost anything because all their Olympians got banned from the Olympics for doping.
Yeah, but how many people do you actually think are like tuning out right now because I'm talking about wrestling?
All of them.
Probably a lot, right? It's so tiny.
My brothers
it's
might
so tiny
be
in America. It's so tiny in America, and
yeah.
I mean that's the most that I've been involved with looking into what is happening with wrestling right now
since,
that I've been in a while. It's so fucking hard to follow.
So you wrestled in high school. I did not. My brothers both wrestled though. They both qualified for states multiple times. Wrestling is it's weird. It's kind of weird from the outside as a community because like you said, it's small, but within it, it's so passionate. It's crazy.
I think that it the inaccessibility of it is kind of what aids to it being such a tight knit community, and that's ultimately why it isn't why it isn't a bigger sport in America. I think because there is such as far as accessibility of it, you have objective accessibility. Like literally, it's hard to find out what is happening at Worlds. You can't go online and just find a bracket like that.
Yeah.
Like you can't go onto ESPN and you go on the drop down menu. There's no wrestling.
Yeah.
Like there's Olympic sports, but it's fucking badminton and weird shit. There's on the drop down menu, there's a tab for esports.
Yep. Well, esports are
and cricket.
really quickly.
And that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I'm not. advocating for wrestling should be bigger.
yeah.
I find it interesting that it isn't.
I think another thing is it's kind of two-pronged. I think one, the general person has no clue how wrestling works, how it's scored, how you win.
And that's like goes to more of the subjective accessibility.
And I think
of it,
the other
right?
half
like
of it
you
is
have to know what wrestling is.
It's a combat sport, but it's not.
There's no striking.
It's
involved.
not violent.
Mm-hmm.
It is when you're doing it. It's it's very hard and extremely technical. Like
Right.
so, your average person watching a wrestling match has no clue about the difficulty level of what's happening.
Right.
Which I think is a big thing. It's when you watch a major sport, when you see a running back bust a big run play, or a wide receiver make a hard catch, or Steph Curry hit a 35-foot pull-up jumper, or Giannis dunk all over somebody, you can see how hard something is in the moment. It's very
even
easy
something
to
that's
see
like
how
sort
hard
of
it is.
closely related to it, like MMA.
Yeah.
When you see Edson Barbosa doing a spinning wheel kick and shit like that,
It's-
like you're like, oh
it's
man,
fantastical.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
But in wrestling,
even
it's
then,
harder to see.
The thing that separates, I think, MMA from wrestling is, like you said, the striking. Striking is more violent. It's more entertaining to the masses.
Yeah. And that's why every time that you see Khabib take down Conor, you
there's
have somebody. If you're at a
somebody
Buffalo
booing
Wild
at the
Wings,
bar, yeah.
If you're at a Buffalo Wild Wings, people are like boring.
Because they don't understand.
I want to see boxing in MMA, but I don't want to just watch boxing.
Well, because you can kick. But people don't know that you can go watch kickboxing.
Yeah, true.
And then on top of that, if you do go watch kickboxing, it also has weird point systems. So it's this weird thing where you get to these different forms of martial arts. You just don't understand the rules or the techniques.
But there's like, in order to fully enjoy the sport, there is a learning curve that comes along with it.
Absolutely. And I think it's weird because the most popular sport in America is football. And I think it has a huge learning curve. But just societally, everyone just learns it as they
But
grow
there's
up.
also but there's also with football, there is enough on the surface level where you can pick it up in order to enjoy it more. Like
you can see someone throw a pass and complete it.
Like when Bill Belichick watches a football game, he's
watching something different.
Yeah, he's watching he's seeing 100 times more information than I am.
Yeah.
Than like when LeBron James is breaking down a basketball game, he's seeing something like dude.
Go watch detail.
Details like
Kobe
a
talking
good
about
example
basketball
is
is
a good
like,
example of
wow.
that. But LeBron James, when he like one of his episodes on The Shop, he was talking about how he watched some random ass college game, and he was like, "Dog, they played 40 minutes of flex. They ran flex for 40 minutes straight." And I was like, I don't know what the fuck flex is.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what the fuck flex is. I'm sorry, LeBron.
I know what flex is in football. You can flex out, but I don't know what it is in basketball.
They even like I think like somebody else explained it.
And you
in
still
the
don't
shop.
know?
Still don't know. Something about baselines and screens and stuff. I don't know.
But yeah, I think
Well, it's like there's a whole nother world that's going on within the sport that you're not seeing.
And you know what's crazy about that? I think not only is there, there's a whole other world within the sport you don't see, but I think just there's a whole nother world in terms of the wrestling world that most people don't know about. And I think that's true for a lot of things. I think a lot of hobbies that you get into, it's like, who knows about the best crocheter in the world? There's people who like know that stuff and they're passionate about it. And I think it's really cool. But it's like it's sort of a weird thing when you start comparing things to others. When you start saying, why is wrestling so much lesser known and less followed than X sport? Right. It's a weird thing.
That's why I had to preface that, because it's like it's not as popular for a reason. You know, for whatever reason, it's not as marketable as UFC.
Yeah.
But
UFC though.
But speaking of UFC and speaking of wrestlers that a lot of people might not know about, there was some shit that dropped.
So this is like unprecedented. So for those people who don't know, UFC is not a sport. Don't say UFC as a sport.
Yeah.
The sport is MMA, mixed martial arts. UFC is a promotion, meaning they have fighters that fight under their promotion that they put on. There are other promotions. Bellator. Pride I don't think exists anymore.
No.
One Fighting Championship. This specific...
Why would you bring that up?
Strike Force is another one.
Why would you bring up
Why would I bring up One Fighting Championship? Well, let me tell you. There's a man named Ben Askren who fights under the One fighting championship promotion. He is undefeated. I want to say he's 18-0-1, I think his record is. And he's a wrestler. He's mostly a wrestler, he's known as. He was just traded.
I wouldn't even just say that he's a wrestler. He is a wrestler / grappler. He is a legit dude on the ground.
Oh, like jiu-jitsu? Okay.
But continue.
This unprecedented thing happened where the UFC and One Fighting Championship are swapping fighters and rights to the fighter fighting under their banner.
Right.
And that's never happened. Not only are they swapping fighters, Ben Askren, the UFC is giving away Mighty Mouse. The most dominant champion of all time.
Yeah, who
Flyweight
before
champion.
his most recent fight was considered pound for pound one of the greatest of
all time
in the sport.
He has the coolest submission I've ever seen. His flying armbar.
What did he finally call it? The Mighty Bar?
The Mighty Bar, yeah. He jumped in the air and landed an armbar on a dude. It's crazy. He's one of the most dominant fighters I've ever seen. And for whatever reason, the UFC has never been able to sell him. The cards that he fights on, that he headlines specifically, do not make enough money for the UFC. So they've always had a contentious relationship of Mighty Mouse feeling like they don't promote him enough and they don't back him, and them feeling like he isn't enough of a draw.
Which seems so weird. Like the most obvious reason for maybe this is why they can't sell him is because he's so tiny.
He's small and
he's a tiny boy.
Knockouts, and like we were just talking
he's
about,
a 125er.
Violence sells in combat sports. And the smaller you are, the harder it is to knock someone out. And the 125ers just don't do it that much.
But at the same time, like trading in those knockouts for this crazy athletic ability
and
that
the skill
someone
level.
like the skill level, the speed that they fucking have is insane.
To me and you, yes, but to the casual viewer, it's just not as interesting to them. And so like you said, his most previous fight, in my opinion, was a controversial decision. I thought Mighty Mouse won that fight.
Okay.
It seemed way too even to lose a belt to me.
Right.
But that's its own discussion. You've watched. I know you hadn't seen it, but you've caught up on it, right?
Yes, I caught up on it. And I thought it was a good fight.
It was a very good fight.
I thought it was a really good
Very
fight.
good fight.
And the weirdest thing about Mighty Mouse getting traded out of the UFC is he not going to be able to fucking have a rubber match with Henry Cejudo?
Nope. Well, the talk is already. So because of this trade happening, by the way, Ben Askren is a welterweight. He's not a small. He's a 170.
He's 170
Yeah, he's a 170 fighter, which
170
hopefully that division gets disbanded and they make 165, 170. That's another discussion.
Right.
The idea right now, the rumor and thought of what might happen is that people think they might shut down the 125 division. There's already talk of Cejudo's next fight being against TJ Dillashaw, the 135 champion.
Which makes a lot of sense, like already, because Henry Cejudo has such a problem getting down
he makes a
to
big
125.
cut to 125. But yeah, because of if you can't sell a division with a champion as dominant as Mighty Mouse, the idea is that they're never going to sell the division, and they might just stop it.
Which I don't know. It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more disappointing that they're letting Mighty Mouse go than shutting down the division.
I agree. I'm gonna miss Mighty Mouse for sure. But my first reaction, my first reaction was not, oh no, we're losing Mighty Mouse. My first reaction,
hell yeah, we're getting.
Oh my
Ben
God,
Askren.
Ben Askren is finally coming to the UFC.
Because this has been a thing that people have talked about for a long time. I've tertiarily heard the name Ben Askren and how could he compete against the best welterweights in the world in the UFC forever. Now, you know more about Ben Askren than I do.
So the people that don't know who Ben Askren is have no idea about MMA outside of the UFC because he's literally never been in the UFC.
He wasn't even in the second biggest promotion, Bellator. He was in one. Who watches one fighting champ? Only the biggest MMA
I'm pretty sure he
fans.
was previously in Bellator.
Oh, he was in Bellator before?
Yeah, he was a previous Bellator champion. So he is some of his accomplishments just from wrestling and grappling as well. He is a 2-time NCAA champion, 4-time All-American, 2008 Olympian freestyle. He didn't place or anything, but he also is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Oh, okay.
And a legit black belt.
Yeah.
This dude is a killer. And probably one of the most legit guys on the ground since maybe Jake Shields.
You mean at the division? You mean at the division or just in general?
I would say in general because
Damian Maia exists.
Damian Maia exists. Damian Maia exists, but Damian Maia, it took a long time for him to develop his wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of people that he literally just couldn't take down and get to the ground so that he could utilize his jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I would venture to say that Ben Askren's wrestling is better than Damian Maia's wrestling, but
I mean, he's
wrestling
got the
and
pedigree.
jiu-jitsu, like they trade off. My instant thought was Ben Askren versus fucking Khabib. I want that to happen. I want that.
Well, wait.
Make it happen. I don't care. Have it on the moon. I don't care what the weight is. They can fight at 170. They could fight.
If they made 165 a
they
division.
they could fight at a catch weight.
Yeah.
If they made 165 a division, that's another
Can
one.
I make a counter argument? I know why you want to see that, because you want to see prolific wrestlers fight each other. That's what you want to see. Can I make a counter? Because he is a 170 fighter, and making that happen is a little difficult, because Khabib fights 155 and is maybe the champion after all that's gone down. We're still waiting on their decision of suspension and everything. Him and Conor are currently indefinitely suspended until the hearing. But I feel like welterweight needs Ben Askren more than Khabib, more than the UFC needs him to fight Khabib.
So you're saying that the welterweight division needs more depth and needs.
I feel like
more...
welterweight has been treading water ever since Robbie Lawler lost the belt to Tyron Woodley.
So here's my thing. I would say that Ben Askren's not going to have a lot of fights in the UFC. He's already 34.
Okay.
And he was already looking for retirement. Mm-hmm. But he also said, there's like a 98% chance that I'm going to be going to the UFC. Yeah. I don't think that he has a lot of fights in him, but who knows? Because he is 34, but he's also a very good 34. Yeah. If that makes any sense. Like,
your UFC prime is
he's not like a Mike Bisping 34.
Yeah.
Mike
doesn't Bisping was like 39 by the time he was a champion at like 38 years old.
No, but he fucking gets in brawls and shit is what I'm saying. A guy like Ben Askren,
you're that dominant a grappler, you don't have to.
Ben Askren doesn't get fucking touched.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a longer career. So I don't know how many fights he has left in him. But
you want to see one of them be Khabib. I understand where you're coming from.
I also think that it's more likely that Khabib is going to move up.
I think they should just make 165 a division, man. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But
ideal world.
Yeah, and 175. But I don't think that the UFC is going out of their way to let one of the most dominant, as much of a contentious relationship as they had, one of the most dominant fighters they've ever had leave in exchange for this dude if they're not bringing him in to revitalize a treading water division. They're not bringing him in to fight someone who's already going to sell.
But a majority of the time, the UFC isn't trying to revitalize divisions. They're trying to set up big fights.
That's true. But I don't think Ben Askren versus Khabib to the general public is a big fight.
I think they might be able to sell it that way.
They can try. It's obviously not going to be. It's obviously not as big as just a Conor Khabib rematch or a Khabib Tony Ferguson fight.
Right.
To me, it's not as big. Whereas if you put Ben Askren in and you let him fight like I saw him talking shit on Twitter today to Jorge Masvidal, and you let him fight a Jorge Masvidal and if he gets a dominant win, and you immediately throw him into the ring with Wonder Boy or Robbie Lawler, or just give him Tyron Woodley.
But we're also examining the UFC in a vacuum without Ben Askren's personality as well.
Yeah, he's once a big shit talker.
Once they get a hold of him and he's actually within the promotion and they start selling his personality, the dude can speak.
I think he needs.
He's a really interesting guy.
He needs a setup fight before anything big. I think he needs to fight like a Jorge Masvidal, somebody who is very good and people know and recognize. Mm-hmm. But gives him a chance to, stake his claim, if you will.
Right.
I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah.
I'm sad about Mighty Mouse leaving.
Because it's weird. Sucks.
We're like, we're losing Mighty. We could watch him fight.
Yeah.
In one fighting
in another promotion.
But we have no clue how to do. Where do you watch one?
I have no idea, but at the same time, I want to see him fight against the best in the world. I want to see him fight Henry Cejudo again.
Yeah, because They're 1-1 against each other.
I want a fucking rubber match. Like that should be the hypest. That's the hypest thing in all of fucking sports.
Yeah.
It's the game
It's like
7
game
of
7.
fucking yeah.
Like I keep waiting for the Conor Nate rubber match. Whereas I'm sure they'll do it eventually, but it is. The rubber match is like the game 7 of fighting. That's interesting. I've never thought about that. Yeah, I obviously we can't say too much until they start setting things up and we actually see.
And it's also not super official yet, right? Like it's official,
it's
but
like
not
one of those
official.
things where it's like 99% done. They think
Right.
it's going to be official by the end of the week.
And like Ben Askren as well as Mighty Mouse has gone onto their respective
they've
Twitter
changed
accounts
their
and
Twitters and stuff. Yeah, I think we're recording on Thursday. By the time this airs on Monday, it might be done.
right.
Yeah. You have any other wrestling MMA stuff? Read those notes, though. You could have Tony Reality'd that and thrown it at the camera. You missed your chance.
I'll do my own thing.
Oh, okay. I respect it. I want to stick with sports for a little bit, though, because the basketball season has been bananas. BANANAS so far. Scoring is up. Like, higher than almost ever.
Yeah.
3-point, the amount of 3-pointers being shot, the pace is higher than ever.
Right.
It's just balls to the wall.
And weird shit is
shot
happening
hunting.
too. Weird shit is happening as well.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously, we'll get to the Lakers-Rockets fight. Is its own thing.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of old news now. We're going to talk about
That's
it,
true.
but it's kind of old news now. But this specifically, this is probably the greatest sentence I've ever read in my life.
Do it.
Brad Stevens said, "Right now, the Orlando Magic are better than the Boston Celtics."
Yo, the Celtics are struggling a little, like not
They're 2-2
in like a
right?
first world problems kind of way.
Yeah.
They're having a hard time getting everyone back in the groove. Jason Tatum is shooting really bad from 3. Kyrie, slow start to the season. Gordon Hayward's coming back from that big injury. They'll get it together. They're fine. Screw them.
They're going to be fine. Yeah.
Whereas the Magic very well might do the exact same thing they did last year and play good for a month and then suck.
Yeah.
Maybe not. They got a new coach and everything. Maybe not. We'll see.
New coach, new players, develop players.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon's looking good.
You never know. Aaron Gordon's playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that has struck me the most about we've watched a lot of games just in the last 2 weeks. We've watched like almost 4 nights a week we're watching basketball. Sometimes with 2 TVs on, watching 2 games at once. I think the thing that is striking me the most is how competitive it's been early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Usually in the beginning of a basketball season, it's kind of you roll slowly into the season to get going, and then it's not until like Christmas that the basketball season really starts.
Right.
And then even then, it's not until the All-Star break that the playoff push starts, that you really start caring about standings and stuff. So we're very far from that. Either of those things happening. But the games have been played. They've been played hard and fast, and they've been competitive and close to the end of the games. It's just been really fun to watch.
I think what happened last year with the seeding of the Western Conference in the playoffs made people realize, like, oh shit, every game kind of counts.
So not only did the Warriors not get the 1 seed, the Rockets did, but after the top 2 seeds, every team from 3 to 10, I think, was like 2 games apart.
Right.
2 games in the standings.
I think if the Blazers lost 2 or 3 more games, they wouldn't have been in the playoffs. And they were the 3 seed.
Yeah. So,
they were the 3 seed.
Yeah, you might be right. Maybe they're putting more emphasis on getting the wins, whenever you can get them, not just when you're feeling it early on. I think some notable performances. Steph last night dropped 51 3/4. He went completely insane. He looks like 2016 MVP Steph Curry.
Who do you think is a better scorer, and who do you think is a better player, KD or Steph?
Steph is a better shooter. I don't know if I would say he's a better scorer. And I think KD's a better player. KD's more all around.
I would say that Steph is a better scorer, and then KD is a better player. Yeah. But it's also
the problem is that KD,
that better player thing is also like right there.
But KD also is cheating because he's 7 feet tall and built like a guard and moves like a guard, whereas Steph is 6'3" or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's so much. It seems like it's so much easier for KD to do things than it is for
And
Steph.
I think the idea of KD is so much like easier to accept him as the second best player in the league just because he is that, because he is 7 foot and he is more versatile on defense and stuff like that. Whereas fucking Steph Curry is a chainsaw of fucking offense that can just run through.
He's the best shooter of
everyone.
all time.
Best shooter of all time, but like it's not just his shooting.
That dude gets to the basket.
Getting to the basket.
And he's a great passer.
His ability to innovate.
He's an insatiable off the ball. Just because the ball's not in his hand doesn't mean he's not working. That dude is sprinting to get open constantly. He's on offense, he's insane. I don't know if I would say he's better than KD on offense because of the physical advantages that KD has. Not only can KD shoot threes, not only can KD get to the mid-range and do the things that Steph does, he also can just post you up and destroy you.
Right.
He can do it.
And I agree, like he is more versatile and it seems like he's more dynamic.
This is semantics where we're talking about two elite players.
Right. And like picking hairs between the both of them.
Exactly.
Splitting hairs. But yeah, dude, he is so fucking fun to watch.
It is. It's one of the reasons I don't understand how people can hate the Warriors.
Right.
Because they're so fun to watch. Even with KD on the team, KD didn't make them boring. Steph and Clay will still go nuclear. Let's not forget Clay. Clay can drop 37 on you in a quarter.
True.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to hate the Warriors because nobody was hating on the Warriors when it was just Splash Brothers, Warriors,
and Draymond. People hated Draymond, but they didn't hate the Warriors.
True.
Yeah.
Nobody hated the Warriors, but like it's just when they won 72 games and then you add on KD.
It feels like
the unfairness of it.
It feels like cheating.
Yeah.
But I say embrace it while you can because this might be the last year of it. KD might be gone next year. Who knows if he goes Knicks, Lakers, wherever.
I think next year is going to be like one of the craziest seasons of the fucking NBA.
I think you might be right.
But
I think
after everything that happens with free agency, who knows who's going to join with LeBron in LA? Fucking where is KD going to go?
AD is not a free agent next year.
Huh?
AD is not a free agent until 2020.
Okay.
I was under the impression that Anthony Davis would have the opportunity to go to the Lakers next year. Apparently, it's not until 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. Just an interesting sidebar. Not only Steph, have you seen the Raptors at all?
Yeah.
Kawhi is back and could make the statement for second best player in the NBA. Kawhi is amazing. In case you forgot, for the 1 year he was doing what his uncle told him to do down in San Antonio and not playing.
Like what LeBron and Ben Simmons have as far as like being able to see the future on offense and make the exact perfect play. He has that for defense.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did you see the last night he had this play where he without
someone tried to do a backdoor cut on him
and without looking,
he literally
just jumped in backwards and stole the ball. It was crazy.
Yeah,
he's like a savant defensively and an amazing offensive player. And not only do we have these guys, we Giannis and the Bucks have now Mike Budenholzer coaching them. They are completely new look. They are dominant right now. They're destroying people. We watched Brook Lopez go 5 of 10 from 3 last night. Ay. Brook Lopez. That's their center. This is crazy. Blake Griffin had that crazy 50-point game the other night. They're undefeated. The Pistons are undefeated.
Pistons are undefeated, and the Sixers are 2-2 or 2-3.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they're struggling. They're trying to figure things out.
The Lakers are 1-3.
It's also so easy to overreact.
Yeah.
To like just early.
Well, I mentioned this to you the other day.
There's 82 games in the season.
So
I
told you
4 or 5 games in.
Sort of the way I think about it, because the sport I grew up watching is football. I think about, how do you react to one game of football? You don't overreact, but one game of football means a pretty good amount to where a team's headed. Well, the equivalent to one game in football to a basketball team is 5 games,
right? Approximately.
Right. So I don't even like to think of the smallest sample size I want to think about is 5 games and what that means, because I feel like every 5 games you can make a judgment on where a team is and where they're headed. Whereas one game in basketball doesn't really mean anything, especially because you look at teams like the Lakers and my team, the Heat, just were losing 1-point games.
Right.
So you're in the loss column, but as a team, you're in a good place.
You also have to have the presence of mind to evaluate who they're losing to.
Exactly.
You know,
the Lakers were playing all playoff teams. Like,
but when they play the
games.
Suns, they annihilate the Suns.
them,
So it's like, okay.
We
Right.
beat
The weird shit is like when you see the Thunder losing against the Kings, you're like, all right, I understand that they don't have Russ, but what's going on?
Well, Russ
here?
came back and they still lost.
They lost against the Kings with
I don't know if that was the Kings game or not, but
okay.
Russ's first game back, they lost. I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I feel like you have to give teams like a month to, even though this, like we said, this season has been a faster start than usual. I think you need to give teams about a month to sort of get in the groove and figure each other out, because there's always new pieces being added and coaches figuring out rotations that work. Or if you're a Heat fan, you need to get people back from injury at the beginning of the year, because we had like 6 dudes not playing. What is the world that I live in? Right. Why, Heat? Why are you always so injured? Drives me nuts. But yeah, I just want to talk about how hype it's been.
Yeah, so don't worry, Brad Stevens. You're still better.
You'll be better than the Magic soon.
Celtics are still better than the Magic.
Do you want to talk about the fight, or is it too old news?
We can talk about it a little bit.
So, the series of events that happened was the Los Angeles Lakers were playing the Houston Rockets. James Harden drove to the basket.
This was the first Laker home game
of the season. LeBron's debut in LA.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden, as he is wont to do, drove towards the basket and elaborated on some contact, as he always does.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ingram, who made the contact, it was a foul. He just, James Harden sold it.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ingram did not take kindly to this and pushed James Harden from behind, and then got up in the referee's face for calling a foul. This kind of started the teams all converging and getting each other's faces, and then a scrum, if you will. No physical altercation, just kind of, in your face and talking trash. Then, if you listen to Chris Paul, Rajon Rondo spat on him. If you listen to Rajon Rondo, him wearing a mouthpiece and trying to exacerbate his emotions, spit just came out of his mouth. Which, if you've ever worn a mouthpiece, is a legitimate excuse. That can happen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, or if you want to listen to conspiracy theorists, Carmelo Anthony did it. Somehow, saliva ended up on Chris Paul's face. He then proceeded to poke and shove Rondo in the face.
Chris Paul started shoving his finger
and pushed Rondo
in Rondo's face.
Rondo proceeded to start punching Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. Literal punches, like a left hook. And that usually doesn't happen in the NBA. Usually there's, they get in each other's face and they talk and then they get separated. These dudes threw down. I think there was a left hook landed by Rondo, an uppercut landed by Chris Paul. There were some good shots.
And out of nowhere,
out of nowhere, from the other side of the court, back comes Brandon Ingram, our initial
fire starter,
if you will, and he threw a punch at the back of Chris Paul's head, and he wasn't even a part of the fray. What came of this was a 5-game suspension for Brandon Ingram, 4 games for Rondo, 3 games for Chris Paul. The thing that I think is
5-4-3 or is it 4-3-2?
It might be 4-3-2. I think it's 4-3-2.
Yeah, or
5-3-2, 4-3-2. It doesn't matter. What I think is interesting is this idea more than the fight. The fight was fun and it was crazy when it happened. But what I find interesting is the aftermath here of this sort of character sniping of Chris Paul and Rondo, kind of. Everyone's always known that specifically Rondo is an instigator. Mm-hmm. Everyone's also always known.
There's clips of him in the game, literally taking the ball while someone's about to shoot the free throw, takes the ball and then rubs his sweat from his face onto the ball.
Yeah.
Doing really weird shit like that. Weird stuff.
Also, he has a huge smudge in his character profile, if you will, after he basically outed a referee and called him the mean F word, if you will. I don't want to say it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on the court. And basically outed this referee as a homosexual. And this was this huge thing. He got suspended for that, I believe, as well. So this is sort of Rondo seems like a worse dude than Chris Paul. Even though Chris Paul has his run-ins with the law, if you will. He's been caught on camera hitting dudes in the junk as they drive past him and sort of what you might hear called savvy veteran moves like that. You know what I mean? But he's also has a sort of reputation as being hard to work with, being very demanding of the people around him. And you often hear it from the side of that Chris Paul is in the right and that he's trying to get lazy people to work harder. Is kind of how it's spun a lot. We're now getting this word because Rondo came out and was basically like, you all think Chris Paul's this awesome dude because it's how the media portrays him. And he's the president of the
State Farm
Players
commercial.
Association. And he has commercials and stuff. But Chris Paul is a bad dude. He's a bad teammate. And he's had at least 3 ex-teammates of Chris Paul come out and agree with him, including Big Baby, which I don't take Big Baby's word as much as I might someone else because Big Baby was on that Celtics championship team with Rondo.
Right.
I feel like that's more chest pumping. Yeah. I've got your back, Rondo, than it is,
right.
Realistic approach to things. I'm not saying Chris Paul's not a bad teammate. I don't know. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with Big Baby, if you will. That's what's more interesting to me than the fight, though, is this sort of try to take down Chris Paul thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they're both pieces of crap. I don't know.
Maybe they're... Well, and I think just because you're a bad teammate or a little too competitive on the court doesn't mean you're a bad person.
True.
It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. By all accounts, they're both actually very good men. Despite this one thing Rondo did, that was, he obviously crossed the line.
You're a bad person.
He obviously crossed the line.
Passionate you are about basketball. That's fucked up. Yeah, I mean, like it's weird trying to evaluate players' personalities when there's like this celebrity thing where you feel like you get to know the players really well, but you really don't know them at all.
In the NBA more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's so player driven, and you are able to see people's personality on the court so well.
Yep. But in the modern world of social media and playing Fortnite on Twitch and all this stuff, yes, we have the most access to athletes that we've ever had, but they also have the most control over their image that they've ever had. Just because they're on camera doesn't mean they're truly being themselves.
Right.
And that's true with any public figure.
Right.
You watch Tom Cruise interviews, he seems like the dopest dude ever, but he's also a wacko Scientologist. I'm not saying anything bad about Tom Cruise. He seems like a super nice guy, but that's weird. You got any more basketball?
No, dog.
You got any more sports stuff? Go Dolphins. We're playing tonight, so I'm nervous.
Fins up to
my
the
fin
sky.
Can pierce the sky. I actually did have a. There's no new movie news really to talk about, but there's this one thing that triggered an idea in me. So there
inside of you.
Inside of me, there was an announcement that Disney is either doing or considering rebooting Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I haven't.
Okay. So that's it. There's no details. There's no one really knows what it means. What it made me think of is, because we talked about remakes recently when we were talking about the live action Disney stuff in a recent episode.
Right.
And we touched on it a little bit, but I think this idea of reboot and sequel culture is kind of an interesting thing to talk about. And should there be a sort of unwritten rule of time before you can reboot something?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was literally a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie 2 years ago, and it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. What is that? Dead Men Tell No Tales or
Dude,
whatever?
I don't know what any of them are called. It was the one without Orlando, or where Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley were not main characters. It's about other people, and of course Captain Jack Sparrow.
Okay.
I think that one was good. I actually enjoyed On Stranger Tides, the one with the mermaid. I thought that one was pretty good too. I enjoyed that one.
I haven't seen either of those two.
The thing is, I think that those two are pretty good and enjoyable movies, but they come nowhere near close to Pirates 1 or 2, I would say. And then Pirates 3 is obviously garbage.
I've seen Pirates 3 one time.
It's bad.
One time. I don't think I'm going to revisit it.
No.
I might watch the newer ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, should there like be obviously like that you can't make a law with it stating some like artificial,
No,
but like
it's unwritten rule.
but yeah, an unwritten rule like
I mean, the one that
I would say like maybe a decade.
a decade, you think? Because so
That's
thing
what
that
I
thought
would
of,
want it to be.
yeah,
You know, like I feel like it's an appropriate amount
it's
of time
weird
to get
because
a
say what you
breather.
will about Johnny Depp as a person or as an actor or as a wackadoodle, the role of Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates is iconic.
Oscar nominated.
Oscar nominated for
Yeah.
Jack Sparrow. It's iconic.
Yeah.
And yes, has he phoned it in a little bit more and more as every movie has gone on? Maybe. Yeah, he has. It's been more of a collecting a paycheck than anything else. But that doesn't take away from what Jack Sparrow is. And if you're going to reboot Pirates of the Caribbean while Johnny Depp is just around, how are you going to have someone else do that?
Mm-hmm.
It seems weird to me. Or do you do that? Do you do a different pirate ship? I don't know. I don't know what it is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You just say, we're rebooting Pirates of the Caribbean with no details, and I don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, like are they going to do Jack Sparrow with another actor,
Yeah.
or is it going to be within the same world, but they're going to do it like a completely different focus?
Yeah.
I have no idea, dude. Like it should, if it depends on how you approach it. Obviously, like I don't think that if you're going to touch the character of Jack Sparrow, that you should do that within
10 years.
I mean,
pretty reasonable.
for
Maybe
that
even
specific
longer.
character. Fuck that. Yeah, like give it like 15 years.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's. I can't imagine anyone else doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like you need to let things pass to when the next generation can put their. I have nothing wrong with rebooting. I don't have any problem. This is the other half of the conversation is reboots in general and the over sequelizing of things that don't necessarily need sequels. Just because a movie makes money doesn't mean you have to make a sequel. For example, A Quiet Place. I loved A Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
They are making A Quiet Place sequel. That movie does not need a sequel.
True.
There's no need for it. That movie exists perfectly the way it is, how it is, where it is.
Mm-hmm.
What is a sequel? I don't want to watch it a continuation of because that if you've seen that movie, it doesn't seem there's anywhere else for that family to go. Now, if you want to spin, you say they're going to follow another family. It's like, fine, but I'm not that interested in it. You know what I mean?
True. I think about that a lot with Ex Machina.
Okay.
Because there's the way that I'm not going to spoil Ex Machina, but the way that it ends, it makes you wonder. Like I think about what happens after that movie so often.
But I think we were talking about pacing earlier being kind of lost. I think that's lost in movies now. That thing where you leave stuff open-ended.
Mm-hmm. And you create like there's a narrative that can happen even after the movie ends.
Yeah,
that
but you don't have
you
to
have
tell
the control.
it.
Yeah,
It's one of those things where sometimes not knowing is better than not liking what they come up with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think Blade Runner. I haven't seen the new Blade Runner, but I think Blade Runner ends in a similar way where it's just kind of open-ended in terms of Deckard, right? Depends on
yes
which
and no.
version. I guess it depends,
on
which
what version.
you watch.
It depends on what
I've
version you're
only
watching.
seen the theatrical. No, I've seen the director's cut. It's the only one I've seen.
Yeah. I recently watched like all of the Blade Runner movies and like but it even if it's like fresh on the brain, it's still confusing as to like what version is what and what it means to the character of Deckard.
Yeah. I watched the one that does not have the bad monologue at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I tracked down. Did I watch the final cut? The final cut is the one that people recommend. I think because there's a director's cut, a final cut, the theatrical release, whatever. But
it's dense.
but there is like there's a habit of wanting to tie things up in a bow for whatever narrative it is, just because it's easier to sell. And it's something that you're going to constantly have to play with in whatever form of art you are, and especially one that is so controlled by the market, like movies. Yeah. Because you're constantly evaluating, oh, well, we can't have this character because, people are not going to relate to it. It's too edgy,
Mhm.
whatever. We're going to make this movie PG-13 instead of rated R so that it can hit multiple quadrants, and you're constantly evaluating it marketing wise as well as creatively.
Mhm.
And they both kind of have to exist to it with each other in harmony in order for it to be a successful movie.
Mhm. Which is a bummer.
Yeah, like I do go back and forth with it, because the artist in me is like, well, like
Make
fuck
whatever
that.
you
Venom
want.
needs to be rated R. You know, like fuck this quadrant bullshit. Fuck the approaching a specific demographic. I don't care if it only hits one person. If that one person loves that movie,
That's what
then
matters.
That's what matters exactly. And that everything about a movie should be controlled by a sole artist. You have to have this auteur that's writing and directing and or whatever they want to be doing with the film.
Then the realist side of you kicks in and you go, but if that's how it worked, no movies would ever get made.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you couldn't fund them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I just had a train of thought and I forgot it. But it was good, so I want to find it again.
You want me to hum something while you think?
No, I feel like I said no. I played that song growing up on sax.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that the Entertainer or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the Entertainer? Is that the name of the song?
Yeah. We might be completely wrong. I don't know. I know I played it.
Yeah, it's The Entertainer by Cedric.
That's such a bad joke. That was bad.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about sequels and reboots, and we went on a Blade Runner tangent.
All right, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You think of...
Word. Go to the bathroom. I couldn't remember what it was, but it wasn't super important. Oh, we back in. We back.
We back.
We back, and I cannot remember my train of thought.
Yep.
It's fine.
Screw it.
We have lots of thoughts on this
On
show.
to
There'll be
the
more.
next one.
On to the next one? There was... it's kind of heavy, but
Right.
I think it's kind of an important conversation.
Okay.
Triple Extentation, the rapper, who
Okay.
was killed.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, he was killed this past maybe 2 months ago, something like that, in a drive-by shooting. Before that, he was a hot topic on the internet, if you will, because of sexual and physical abuse to his girlfriend.
Right.
Something that I think there was a trial going on for, right? I'm pretty sure. So they were trying to figure out, if he did it, how severe it was, all this kind of stuff. The pictures are horrifying
Of what he did
to her.
To her.
She is brutalized. And it just came out that there was this secret recording of him doing some kind of conversation or interview or something. And in it, he admits to stabbing 8 different people, and basically confirms the abusive stuff with his girlfriend. And I think, these are terrible, horrible things that he's done. But I think the conversation that's kind of it pulls out is this.
The idea of should we speak ill of the dead?
Yeah,
is something that
and the idolization of objectively bad people after they die. Why can you honor someone's death because they died? Does that make sense?
Right.
Because when he was killed, because he was killed, which is
awful.
It's awful. I mean, no matter who you are, it's all awful. He was killed, and all of these, rappers came out talking about how much love they had for him and how you inspired me and this kind of stuff. And some big name people said some different degrees of things about, Kanye said something about him, but we all know what don't know what's going on, but Kanye is in another world right now. But like J. Cole came out, and his message I think was the most level-headed. He basically said, "This is a tragedy that someone who needed help couldn't get it."
And that is absolutely that what you can tell from the recording that came out. You know, he was talking about how he was like proactively trying to break this girl down
And
that
he
was with,
and he talked about how
and
full
saying
of
how,
anger he
like,
always
was
was.
saying like I and you can pick that up through his music too. Like he's like referencing like suicide and like you know that he's he's a tortured soul.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers
how
to pull
much
back
should
on
you
this.
How much should you victimize someone
Who does horrible things? Yes, you're experiencing hard things. A lot of people experience hard things though,
right?
And they don't do the things that he did.
And my idea of who X was sort of changed because I'd heard about like all these bad things that he had done before I even got to his music, and
Same
I
with
also
me.
assumed that his music was mumble rap culture.
I made the
and
same assumption. I've never listened to his music before.
You've never listened to it?
Nope. The first thing I ever heard about him was about this thing with his girlfriend, and I didn't want to listen to his music.
His music is, I would say it's inconsistent, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Because you can,
I've heard that he has some really great songs.
Because you can pick up that he's going through some type of emotional journey. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's like it is the greatest music of all time. You know, it's okay. And
another layer of
there's specific songs.
Yeah.
Like there's a song. I forgot what it was called, but he has a song with Joey Badass that I think you would really like.
Yeah, I love Joey Badass.
Fucking Joey Badass's verse is fucking really cool. The beat is really good. His verse is it's all right. It's fine. And his music impressed me more. Like literally, I was in the car, and my girlfriend Kate played me a song, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of like this song. Who is this?" And she already knew that I didn't like XXXTentacion
because of what we knew about him.
And she was like, "This is XXX."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I just got caught up there, you know. Like I like this song. I know that he's done horrible things, but I also know what it's like to go through shit. But I've also never abused anyone.
Yeah.
Because of it.
And you haven't stabbed 8 people.
I haven't stabbed anyone. And there are so many people out there that like when this audio was released, people are like you know, leave him alone. He's dead. He's
dead.
Gone now.
Yeah.
Really?
It seems irresponsible, right?
Exactly.
So there's kind of another layer that we have to peel back here. XXX has a fanatic fan base on the internet, to the point where the obviously I can only assume that this is a small amount in terms of, you know, a minority of people, but there is a group of people on the internet who love XXX's music and defend him to no end, no matter what accusations are brought against him. And then even when they find out he did do things, they don't care. And that scares me. And these people will go, for example, if they heard us talking about him, they would come and attack us on the internet.
Right.
They would come and they would tell us to kill ourselves, and they would tell us that we're not worth anything and that he's more than we could ever be. And I mean, you know, you can say and do whatever you want, but that's scary to me.
Right.
That there are people that will just so blindly follow you because they feel connected to where you're coming from. I can only assume.
Well, yeah, if your own emotional journey, if your own things that you're going through so closely mimic the artist that you're sort of idealizing, like, I mean, and especially if they die, you know, that goes into the don't speak ill of the dead idea that people are trying to champion when it comes to this topic. It's a tough topic, and it's but yeah, it does seem irresponsible to not address it, to not have the truth be revealed.
Yeah, and it's, how can you learn if you don't look back?
Right.
In terms of just human history, if we didn't look back and learn from the generations before us who've passed away, how would we ever grow? And if we can't look back at someone who was an artist and someone who spoke their truth, but on the other side of that had these flaws, these huge flaws as a person, and we can't learn from that, why would you prevent that? Is what I don't understand.
Well, it's such a hard subject to deal with because it's so complex and so nuanced. Because he was a horrible person, fucking came out with some good music. Like, there's specific songs from him that I will continue listening to. And then after he dies, like, more information comes out that reveals even how troubled he was and how awful he was to other people. And it's something that you literally have to approach with nuance.
Yeah.
And that is a hard thing for people to deal with.
Especially in the modern world where you are a click away from any opinion being anywhere.
True. And just like absolutism is just so easy. There's like an addiction to decisiveness.
Something is good or bad.
True. Something is good or bad, but as well as like decisiveness. You don't want to, people like being a fence sitter is considered a negative thing, you know, like being like, oh, well, like I kind of have to dwell on this for a bit in order to really formulate opinions on it.
That seems horrible. Like that's a mentality of society.
Why does that have a negative connotation? Like, if you're going to evolve as a society, as people, then you need to have conflicting ideas. That's what thinking is.
Yeah, for sure.
Is you're creating multiple roles within your mind, and they're battling it out to see which one is the prevailing mentality. And if you're constantly getting caught in echo chamber, even within your own mind, and saying, well, I have to accept this thing because that is my political belief. That is what group I'm associated with.
My religious
that's my
ideas.
Exactly.
Like that.
If you're not able to include those types of potentially flawed mentalities, then how are you going to grow as a person?
I think one of the most important things anyone can sort of work on doing is being able to objectively look at your own ideals and try to look at any situation from the opposite perspective.
Right.
And I think that's one of the best ways that you can grow. And I think it's one of the best ways you can be empathetic to other people.
But yeah, very true. Like it helps you connect with people, but it also, if you're getting caught up, there's a quote that I'm going to butcher it, but it goes along the lines of evaluating different political beliefs or whatever. But it goes along the lines of it's not what you think, but it's how you think.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you can think different things, and you could have one person that's a Republican, one person that is a Democrat. You know, you could have a blue and a red, and they're both thinking completely different things, but how they're evaluating their own thoughts is exactly the same.
Yeah. They're rationalizing their own ideas.
Exactly. Like, if you're not able to address the nuance within your own mind, then you're not going to be able to connect with the person that's across the aisle.
Yeah. But I think bringing this back to specifically I think you phrased it as speaking ill of the dead. I think I said it. It seems irresponsible to not learn from someone. Like, for example, what if Bill Cosby died before we found out he was a rapist? Now, everyone's cool with just talking shit about Bill Cosby because he's alive. I mean, he's old and he's going to probably die soon in prison, but he's around to take it. Right? That has to be the blockade that people... He's not here to defend himself, so why can you say that about him? Well, because he did it. You know what I mean?
Because that is the ultimate
truth. What's
truth.
the difference between Bill Cosby being found out now instead of being found out later? What's the difference between if we had found out sooner about tcaks than when we did find out? I don't see a difference myself. I mean, I'm not going to walk around and like walk up to random people and talk ill of anyone. But if someone's going to bring up, I mean, I don't think I'll ever listen to a tcaks song. I just don't think I'll do it.
Do you think, is it like you don't want to because of who he
was? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then that's a tough thing that I'm conflicted.
I don't
about
listen
too,
to Chris
because-
Brown's music.
Mhm.
I don't like Chris Brown's music to begin with, but I don't listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like we've brought that up on previous episodes. The idea of separating the art from the artist.
The art from the artist. Yeah.
And
And where do you draw the line?
Yeah, where do you draw the line? And it's so conflicting because, just because you're a bad person, you can create something that is incredible. Like fucking Bill Cosby inspired a lot of like when Dave Chappelle talks about Bill Cosby, he was like, I was a fucking young black comedian. Mm-hmm. Of course he inspired me.
Yeah.
And evaluating the positive things that potentially come out of really awful people is a sensitive subject. It's tough. It's tough to evaluate.
Are there people that listen to tcx's music where he explores his own, where he's coming from in terms of his pain, and does it help them deal with their pain to where they're not doing the things that he did? I don't know, but that's a light if it happens.
Yeah, it is his own journey, like some type of cathartic experience for the people that are listening to his music, and that keeps them out of the shadows a little bit.
And it's kind of even weird to do that because it gives him this like martyrdom,
right?
Where he did the bad thing so other people don't have to. That in and of itself is its own complicated issue.
Yeah,
because that is also, it shouldn't have to be that way.
But that like speak ill of the dead combined with artistry is kind of how posthumous, is it posthumous? Posthumous.
Yeah.
Posthumous celebrity is like so amplified.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at Robin Williams. Robin Williams, I think, became more beloved than ever after he passed away.
I find it interesting that you brought up Robin Williams. I was about to bring up a Robin Williams movie specifically called World's Greatest Dad.
Okay.
It was written and directed by Bobcat Goldthwait, who is a stand-up comedian, really good filmmaker, but he made a movie called World's Greatest Dad about Robin Williams. He plays this character. He's the main character. And he has this son. Robin Williams' character's son is an awful human being. He's like a sophomore, junior in high school. Literally doesn't listen to music because it's lame. Doesn't get along with anyone. And there's like this funny scene where like Robin Williams walks in on the kid like jerking off at his laptop, but he's like choking himself while he does it.
Oh God!
Like autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah.
But later on in the movie, he walks into his room. And he's doing the same thing, but then he realizes that his son died while fucking jerking off and choking himself.
Oh my God.
So what Robin Williams tries to do, or what he does, is he is so embarrassed that he takes his son and hangs him up in the closet. And he writes his son's suicide letter.
Oh, and he's a writer, right? Robin Williams' character is a writer.
Yes.
Yeah.
His Robin Williams' character is like a failed writer, tries to write novels, and they don't get published and shit like that. But he writes this kid's suicide note, and it ends up getting out. And everyone in the high school was like, "Oh my God, he was so troubled." He was like, "Oh, he was my best friend."
Oh my God. Another direct example to this specific thing, the Broadway play Dear Evan Hansen, which I think was out last year. Dear Evan Hansen. It won Tony Awards, I think, last year. The sort of plot of that play is there's a sort of loner kid who passes away, and the main character of the play has a crush on his sister, and he kind of falls backwards into claiming he was friends with this kid, and made up these fake emails, making it seem like they corresponded via email, and this kid becomes beloved posthumously, even though no one cared about him in life. And the kid, I've only listened to the music from the show, so I haven't seen the show. I don't know the context of everything. The main character doesn't do this. He doesn't do this selfishly. He kind of falls into doing it accidentally almost. And then they end up making this whole they end up making like a charity to raise money. It's weird, but it's that same thing where after someone passes away, they become lifted up as a better person than they were. Or a more beloved person than they were, not necessarily better than they were.
I've had, this is an awful thought, but I've thought it for a while. Like, the greatest thing that you could do as a musician is die young. Like,
the
come out with
26 Club or whatever it's called.
Like
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, because people will always think of your art as something that's classic, and it's like super tragic, and it's something that's like, it's super irresponsible to think, because it's sort of disrespecting the legacies of actual very great artists.
And you never reach the point that we talked about another time where your art changes, so people start saying, I liked his older stuff. You never reach that point.
Exactly.
There's only your older stuff.
Right.
That's really sad.
If Kanye died right after My Beautiful
Dark Twisted Fantasy came out, yeah.
Right. Then,
or even right after Graduation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
The people were like, oh, man.
Kanye
West would be so well respected today. Like, there would have been no downfall. Like, it's kind of insane.
Hey, man, every heroic story needs peaks and valleys. We're just in a valley. It's a deep, deep valley.
Deep valley.
Oh, jeez. Hope we can climb out.
Mariana's Trench Valley, dog.
It's not good. Did we handle that, you think?
Yeah.
I think we handled that.
Yeah.
I think we were respectful and thoughtful. I think. I don't want to end on that. It's like sad.
Sometimes life is sad.
That's true. Sometimes life is sad.
Sometimes life is sad.
Peaks and valleys.
And you have your peaks and valleys too.
You gonna keep going? You
Nope.
got a whole song?
I really don't want to.
All right, you should stop then. I don't have anything else if you don't.
Nah, dog. I'm ready to get out of here.
All right. Yeah, I'm actually hungry.
Oh,
I'd like to go get some food.
The Magic play at 4, dog. I think it's Portland.
Ooh, I don't care who the Dolphins play tonight.
Okay, cool.
Fins up, Dolphins. Yeah, if you want to check us out, hit us up on YouTube, podcasting platforms, Chris and Kyle Show, Facebook and Instagram, The Chris and Kyle Show, Twitter, tcaks pod. We will be having the spoiler episode for Child's Play coming out on Wednesday this week, not Thursday like usual. We're going to release it on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So Wednesday, look forward to Child's Play. If you don't know what Child's Play is, like me, it's the Chucky movie, the doll, the original Chucky movie. Chris is like, let's do Child's Play. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do. We'll put a new poll up on the 1st for next month's spoiler episode choice.
Mm-hmm. And that will be available through Twitter as well as YouTube this time.
We're going to do 2 options. We can do it on Facebook too. We won't do as many options because Facebook doesn't let you do it for whatever reason.
Fucking Facebook.
Yeah.
Got a shout out?
Oh, I didn't even think about shout outs.
Oh,
I do have one. I just forgot.
I was about to say.
I started doing the whole outro.
Damn.
Okay. I do have a shout out. I prepared for this. I just forgot about it. We've brought up Max Landis a few times on this show. He's a screenwriter mostly, but he's also written some comics. And my shout out is for the Collected American Alien comic, which is Max Landis's Superman comic book. It is, I want to say 7 vignettes, if you will. They're all sort of one-shot stories through different times in Clark Kent's life. And the thing I love about the way Max approaches Superman, he approaches Superman in a similar way I would approach Superman. And that is from the
ground level.
Yeah, building out from the humanity out. And his Superman is very specifically not as powerful as most ideas of Superman. And I think just more humanized in a just better character. Clark sings, if you will. Clark is more important than Superman. And it's just fun. Like I said, it's like 7 different stories. You also get inklings of the hints of what would be his greater world if he wrote more comics, which I know there was talk about him writing Agent of Batman, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. You get like an episode, you get an issue with Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor and Oliver Queen, and obviously you meet Lois down the line. You get a lot of different looks into where his world might be, and I really like the way that he handles the character and the sort of world that he steeps in, his own version of the DC universe. So my shout out is Max Landis's Superman American Alien.
Dope. All right, so I got a weird one.
Okay.
Got a weird one, and when I bring this up, I don't want you to say anything.
You want me to zip my lid?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part.
For how long?
Huh?
How long can I not talk for?
Oh, I mean, it's not about you not talking. I just like there's certain bits of information. I feel like once I reveal it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. My shout out for this week is a little electronic music duo that goes by the name of Nümatic PleAZURE. Nümatic PleAZURE. So that's Numatic space PleAZURE. Nümatic PleAZURE.
Or as I say, PleAZURE.
PleAZURE. But they're an electronic music duo that makes 8-bit music.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of music out there, but the stuff that they do have out right now is basically a story about a mission to space. Mm-hmm. And I think it's dope. So what 8-bit music is literally like video game music.
Like
when you hear
Mario, Super Nintendo music.
Okay, so that is
it's more musical than that though. It's more
well composed.
There's more layers to it.
There's more layers than just that. Yeah. And it tells like a really cool story, and it's like the vibe that you get from it is a very specific thing. It is very visual. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if you were watching a movie while you're listening to this music.
Where can they find said music?
They can find this music on SoundCloud. We'll provide that link in YouTube.
In the doobly-doo.
Or if you look up Nümatic PleAZURE on SoundCloud, you'll be able to find them. But that's my little spiel.
Shout out Nümatic PleAZURE.
Nümatic PleAZURE.
Hell yeah. We are not Nümatic PleAZURE, by the way.
We are not. That's not.
We are not
trying.
Nümatic
That's not
PleAZURE.
Like I know that was really clandestine, but we're not trying to hide that we're an electronic music duo.
There's gonna be all these weird fan theories from our 6 fans.
That's cool. I kind of like. I want to have some juicy fan theories.
Yeah, some headcanon about our lives and about who Nümatic PleAZURE is. We will reveal that we know Nümatic PleAZURE, but we will not reveal who they are.
True.
Now I'll do the actual outro. Now that we've done our shout outs. So shout out Nümatic PleAZURE. Shout out American Alien. Like I said before, hit us up on YouTube. Hit us up on all podcasting platforms. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on Facebook. The Chris and Kyle Show. tcaks Pod on Twitter. We're going to have polls up November 1st. We're going to have Child's Play spoiler episode on Wednesday. Happy Halloween. We are going to have other stuff. We're close to figuring out timing for our first guest episode.
Expect some guest episodes. Expect some cool people with some interesting perspectives to come onto the podcast. If you or anyone that you know feel like you have a message that needs to be heard, if you're a creative type, if you're a scientist, if you're a garbage truck driver that has a really cool story, then please hit us up. We're just looking forward to having really cool people on the podcast besides ourselves, because we are not
interesting.
We're
not interesting. He's Chris Michael Stott. Hit him up, chrismichaelstott.com. Hit him up on Instagram at chrismichaelstott. I'm Kyle. Hit me up at davinwell25 on Twitter and Instagram. We out.
Stay weird.
Peace.